It's time to dive beneath the surface and into the minds and hearts of your favorite celebrities and pop culture icons. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. And look who I have with me today, the Emily D. Baker. Hi, Emily. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. I'm so excited to be here. I can't wait to talk Housewives stuff.
Oh my gosh. Housewives is probably one of my favorite things to talk about. And it's funny, just like a little fun tidbit. My fiance used to always get so annoyed with me because he's like, I want to watch something with substance, not always Real Housewives. And if you're going to do that, make a job out of it. So I was like, okay, I'll make a YouTube channel. And here we are. So I'm so happy that I found somebody else who will watch Housewives with me. I love that.
That's literally how I started YouTube as well, is that I wanted to talk about weird, nerdy stuff. And my husband is just like, really? I'm like, yes, this, Kanye West, contracts, Britney Spears, conservatorship, Housewives, lawsuits. And he's just like, no. So I get to talk with my friends on the internet about it. And it's the most fun.
You just lock yourself in the room and you're like, okay, yeah, I'll be in here. That's the same thing here. Well, I guess, guys, if you caught the thumbnail, we are here. I asked Emily to join me today because I've been following the Erika Girardi case, well, the Girardis legal cases technically, for quite some time now. And I always go on here and I'm like, I don't know the legal jargon. Like, I don't know some of the terms. And sometimes I don't even know what I'm reading or talking about. I'm like, this is big. There's a lot happening here. And there's a lot of different dimensions to, I guess, work through. But before we get started, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like button, show some love. And with that being said, Emily, shall we jump right in?
Let's do it. Let's jump right in. And it is a lot. And the legal stuff going on in this case is really complex. So don't feel like, oh, I don't understand. A lot of people don't understand. It's a lot. Like, it's a lot of moving pieces. I had to make a chart.
What? Did you actually make a chart?
Yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh. No, it's interesting because when the news came out at first that Erika Girardi was filing for divorce back in November, everyone was like, what? Why now? Like, it seems like you have this pretty good setup, right? Where your husband does his own thing. He's constantly working. You get to jet set around and have your kind of little music career that she has going on. And she gets to be on the Real Housewives. Like, what changed? People were speculating infidelity. Was it that they were just in a new place in their lives and that didn't include each other? Or was there something that they were trying to hide as far as money and assets? Because again, it came out that right after the divorce, Mr. Girardi was being sued for a lot of money.
And some of these lawsuits started before that, which didn't come out until later. 2 lawsuits were filed in 2019, and then one was filed in February 2020, one in May 2020, one in August, one in September, 2 in October, one at the beginning. The 2 in October were the last ones right before she filed divorce. So there were quite a lot of lawsuits filed. How many did I say? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lawsuits filed right leading up in the months leading up to her filing divorce. So I think she might have seen it tipping. In this federal suit, there's so many lawsuits, but the federal suit's the one that like hit the papers with Edelson PC, the law firm that's suing Tom and Girardi Keese, that said in their filing declarations that they think the divorce is a sham. Then when that came out, you can kind of look back at all these other things and go, oh, there was a lot happening leading up to this. I don't know if she was trying to get out with marital assets before. It's irrelevant now, really, because it's all going to be swooped up into the bankruptcy, and then the marital assets will get divided, whatever's left after the bankruptcy, because the bankruptcy court has said the marital assets are part of bankruptcy. So all the Gucci, all the Chanel, all the clothes, all of it, all the jewelry, all of its marital assets that will be likely liquidated is in the bankruptcy.
This is insane because especially we're talking about, someone who we've watched on TV, on especially the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, live this lavish life, has a private jet, has a $120,000 Cartier ring.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
I'm embarrassed. She's my favorite housewife, y'all. I'm so sad about this. Like, I'm still emotional about it. And I when I talk about the law on my channel, I really just try to parse it. I make it clear that I've liked watching Erika. enjoyed watching her start to open up in the more recent seasons. And then this came out and I was like, no, I don't want this to be true.
No. And what's crazy is a lot of people, a lot of Bravo super fans are speaking out because they feel like they don't want to watch this woman on their TV anymore, live this glamorous life off of blood money. That's what they're calling it. They're saying
that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. I mean, it's a fair feeling, and I understand why people feel like that, because if, again, right now these are allegations. However, there are so many of them that there are rings of truth in this. What she knew or what she didn't know is still unknown. There's speculation, but it's not been in court. Like, we see that you knew this at this date. What I'm seeing from court documents and interviews is that Tom Girardi still did all of the bookkeeping for their very profitable and very large law firm on paper. Like, it looks like he was really guarding the secrets of what he was doing pretty closely. So did she know? Did she not know? I'm not sure. The reason that I am going to watch season 11, one, because I'm curious and it gets the best of me, but two, if she's getting paid by Bravo, her company at some point is going to be sued by the bankruptcy trustee to pay back that $20 million loan. And so that Bravo money is part of her EJ Creative and will be recouped in bankruptcy. So she had signed this contract before this. I'm like, well, if that's going to be sorted in bankruptcy, but I don't think it's going to age well. I can't imagine what social media is going to look like depending on what she does this season. She's moved, while they're filming. So all of that's going to have to be addressed. The lawsuit's going to have to be addressed some, and the divorce is going to have to be discussed. I can't imagine Lisa Rinna not bringing up that divorce.
Oh my gosh, Lisa Rinna lives for a good moment to bring up anybody's dirt aside from her own. So
yeah, she doesn't talk about the husbands.
Right. She doesn't talk about the husbands, but she will talk about somebody else's husband, I'm sure.
I think so. I think so too.
And obviously she always says too, this is a platform and a job. And she's like, I'm here. I signed a contract and we're here to talk about everything. So if you're not capable of talking about everything, then don't be on the show. That was kind of the direction that she took with Denise Richards and the whole Brandi scandal.
She has to keep the same energy that she kept with Denise with Erika.
But Erika's her friend.
Denise was her friend.
Yeah, technically, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Denise was her friend until Denise was more closed lip about stuff. And well, we could go off on this forever, but Denise tried to kind of shift her image after seeing herself, how it played out last season, I think. And Lisa was not here for it. So I don't think she would allow Erika to do the same thing. Who knows?
Do you remember when, there was a scene on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills a few seasons ago where Mr. Girardi sat across from LVP and said, pretty much that he thinks that she's like an alligator who just when you're not expecting her to come up out of nowhere, but then when she does, she's going to get you. And then Erika was calling her kind of a sniper from the side. I think it's so ironic that they were saying this about her, but now all of this is coming out about them. It's just interesting. It's like you never really know who you're dealing with.
It is interesting. And the thing with Tom Girardi is that he was so well connected and so revered within the legal community within Los Angeles, and the plaintiff's bar, which is the people who were injured suing people. So the plaintiff being, this was done to me, so I'm going to sue you. And the defendant being the person who's getting sued in civil cases. He worked the plaintiff's bar, not something I was deeply ingrained with because I was in criminal prosecution and then I worked with entrepreneurs and business owners. But within that community, he was the most respected. So even when these things started rumbling around the community, it seems a number of years ago, people didn't want to believe it. And they were charmed by him, really going, oh, I get it. No, it's just a mistake. Oh, no, we're just so successful and so busy. But he seemingly was running a Ponzi scheme with his law firm where he was taking in very large awards and settlements from clients and then paying back the old clients. So the new money was paying what was owed, and constantly with this money shift, which is not the way this is supposed to happen. You have client trust accounts, you win an award. If it's $100 million, you take out your fees, you give an accounting of your fees. This is what we spent on experts, and this is what we spent on lawyers and court costs. Then you take out your pay, your fee, 30 to 40%, sometimes up to 45, then the clients get the rest. That process shouldn't be that hard because that money's all in just one account. But it looks like he was mixing accounts. He wasn't paying out clients. He was telling clients that he was going to hold their money for them. This came out in an interview in a Law 360 article, that he was going to hold their money for them so they wouldn't like misspend it like a lottery winner or something.
Gomez.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Rigo Gomez case is settled. He owes them $11 million. It's settled with the court and they're still fighting. I'm glad that they're speaking up because their case is settled. Others whose cases are still in progress can't speak up yet because they're still not settled yet. It's wild.
So no, she even said too that she trusted this man. Her son was burned and put into a coma, that this man would go visit her son in the hospital, that he kind of forged this relationship with them. And then she would ask, like, okay, well, we want some of the money or we want access to our money. And he would say, no, you don't want to misspend it. Let's put it into a high interest account and let's let your money make money. Well, I guess he was technically spending it at the time, but they did, like you said, take this to court and he was supposed to pay back all $11 million. And I think he only paid back $1 million of it.
I haven't looked at the settlement. Still says through the court documents that it's an outstanding 11 million. So if he paid them $1 million, it'll come off the settlement, but he still owes them then $10-11 million. That's all going to go into the bankruptcy court at this point. As a debtor, because there's a court judgment out there that's owed. So it's going to have to go in line with the other debtors in the bankruptcy proceedings, because now everything's going to start getting pulled into the bankruptcy court, and the bankruptcy court will be the boss of all of the cases, because the bankruptcy court will take every asset they can find, liquidate it all, and then distribute out the money. So that's going to be a process that can take years, because there have to be accountings. There are going to be lawsuits. The bankruptcy trustee has already sued another attorney who took a case from Girardi Keese. So the bankruptcy trustees can sue to go get money back. And that's where I've speculated that EJ Creative, Erika's company, will get sued in this if that $20 million loan that's discussed in the federal lawsuit is actually a $20 million loan. Though we know from somebody who audited the books during a divorce proceeding that some of these loans don't end up on the books at Girardi Keese. So it's going to be years, I think, until we see a resolution to this.
Wow. So let me ask you this too, because when we spoke before, I mean, we've seen on Housewives where, I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. Teresa Giudice and her husband, Joe, had to, I mean, they went to prison. He was sent out of the country. They had to pay back, I think, millions of dollars, right, in restitution. Mm-hmm. Did their case hold a candle to this case, or is this so much bigger because there's so many more moving parts?
From my perspective, and we don't have the full breadth of this case yet. I still think we're not at the tippy tip of the iceberg, but we're not below the surface yet in this case, I don't think. The things that have been done here are very different than like mortgage lending and fraudulent mortgage statements, which is what went down with the Giudices. The federal prosecutors are already involved in investigating this because the judge in Illinois is not going to play. The judge in Illinois is just like, I'm holding you in contempt. I'm freezing your assets. This is unacceptable. WTF. I want the U.S. Attorney's Office to look into this. But there are so many more cases, and the action, for me, as a former criminal prosecutor, the action here is more egregious. Their mortgage lending and fraud in mortgage lending is one thing, but being in a position of trust and stealing client funds is a whole nother level, because the relationship owed is so much more sacred, if you will. You owe a duty of care different, and there's a higher standard of a lawyer taking care of their clients. And now we're seeing indications that maybe his clients weren't always approving the settlements, which is a huge issue in law. The client has to approve the settlement, that he wasn't telling them what settlements were. So if these things turn out to be true, I think this could be much worse for him. And then depending on what Erika knew when she was also using this money that was marital assets, it could also be bad for her, the same way it was for Teresa Giudice, who genuinely, I don't know how much Teresa knew. And I don't think they ever showed in the Giudice case how much she knew. She signed things and they're like, well, you're obligated to know. And she's like, my husband said sign it. I trusted him. I signed it. So Erika could end up in that same position of, my husband said this is how much we got from this suit. Like, I just thought the money still spent. I thought it was fine. It doesn't relieve you from criminal responsibility, though.
Wow. Okay.
It's wild.
This is, I mean,
right.
Again, this is crazy.
Right. It's wild.
So moving forward with this case, he will, I mean, in your opinion, they will have to disbar Mr. Girardi at this point, right? With everything that's played into it?
I can't imagine that they won't. It's just a matter of when, because these are all things that are still being investigated. The state bar has to do an investigation. And I think the state bar, from my perspective, and I am a member of the California State Bar, I want to know why, with everything that's gone on, this hasn't been investigated before. Because here's what I'm seeing. There were multiple cases that were brought and were time barred, meaning it's too late to bring this kind of a case. Now that the Ruy Gomez family has talked about how he was charming, and this is very typical of plaintiffs' attorneys, they're charming, they connect with you, you feel safe with them, you feel like, oh, this person's finally going to take care of everything. And then he's so wealthy. I can imagine a family being like, of course he knows how to manage the money. Of course he's right. I trust him as my attorney, as an expert, and as someone who knows more about money than me. But some of these older cases, it looks like he did that long enough that when they finally asked, hey, can I get my settlement? It was too late for them to bring it to court. And I can't imagine that that wasn't intentional at this point from what I've read. So I think that the state bar has to look at that, because it feels to me, again, Emily building monuments to the gods of speculation for the moment. From everything I've read, it looks to me like that was an intentional choice of keeping the house of cards in order by stringing people along. And then when they finally turn around to sue, oh, it's too late. And how would they know that? He's the one who knew that.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. that it's heavy. Like, every time I read this, I'm like, oh, no.
I mean, again, there's so many different moving parts, and it just seems like it makes you feel a little bit dirty, like knowing everything that's happened with these different cases. And now people are interested in the fact that, I mean, one major factor is that he's claiming to be mentally incompetent at this point, after just having conversations with Jay Edelson from Edelson PC last month in December of 2020. And Jay Edelson said that he knew exactly what he was talking about at the time. He was very aware. He didn't seem like he had short-term memory loss, but now all of a sudden, when he's being pursued criminally, he's mentally incompetent and has short-term memory loss, and he's losing all of this weight, and he doesn't know what's going on. Is this a common tactic for lawyers who might be, I guess, breaking the law, but now they're caught and they're pursued criminally? It's, oh, okay, well, I'm mentally incompetent. Is that common?
Well, this case isn't common. I have seen very few things on this scale ever. So the mental incompetence is a entire whole ass other issue, because he was doing these settlement conversations and he was getting into settlements for clients. So if he's incompetent, it can undo some of the back work. It is a much bigger issue. And I think a lot of the lawyers and the people in bankruptcy are going to fight it, because if he's saying, I couldn't sign for these because I wasn't competent to sign these loans or to do these settlements, it's going to create such an absolute mess for the cases he's already settled. But there's no medical diagnosis in this yet. There's no medical professional that's talked about this yet. So is it a common tactic? I mean, you have to be of a certain age. And I think the brother was very much trying to get the deadline pushed in the bankruptcy court, because what happened in bankruptcy is fairly unusual. It was a forced bankruptcy. It wasn't him going, oh shit, all this is going down. I'm bankrupt. Hello, bankrupt. I declare bankruptcy. It was the creditors saying, this is a mess. There are too many creditors that are going to be fighting. We are forcing you into bankruptcy so that one court can handle all of it. And so this is an involuntary bankruptcy. And he had an opportunity to object to it and say, no, it shouldn't be in bankruptcy for these reasons. And he missed the deadline. And the court's like, forget it. We're in bankruptcy. Too bad. So sad. And I think that bankruptcy was from the outset of this, the only real option in this case. But the mental incompetence is going to have to be litigated in court. They're trying to get a conservatorship over him. We've seen how conservatorships go with the Britney Spears case. They can be granted on maybe not tons and tons of medical evidence. So the conservatorship is one part, and then the competency in the bankruptcy court's a separate part that we're going to have to see play out. But is it common? No, but also he's of an age where that avails itself to him.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm just trying to follow along, and I'm loving this. I feel like you're kind of like, you're getting me all hot and bothered over here with these terms that I don't necessarily understand, but you're breaking them down for me, and I'm living for it.
I try to break it down.
Yeah, no, I stole a couple screenshots from Bravo Snarkside on Instagram this morning that they, I guess, stole from Ronald Richards, who's been closely tweeting everything about this case.
Yeah, he's on top of this case. I'm curious if he is also assisting people who had worked with Girardi Keese or clients that had worked with Girardi Keese through his law firm. It's interesting to follow.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you if you could help us break down some of the screenshots. Yeah. And guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like button, show some love. And I know you don't need me to tell you, but please go follow Emily D. Baker, because she's obviously amazing. And I love the fact that we get to talk about celebrity law. I don't even know if that's a real term, but this is like... I
mean, we break down pop culture. I break down the news stuff too sometimes, but pop culture is so interesting. And I find it to be a really good way to learn about things that we might not ever talk about. Most people are never going to understand how bankruptcy court works. And it's really quite fascinating. And we get to talk about it in context with this reality show that we watch play out anyway. So we know all the people involved, and we're invested differently because we're the audience of that. And then we see her posting things on Instagram, and we can all go, is this in poor taste? What do we think? Are we feeling the Fenty posts or not? So, and then she doxed a judge. Like, this case is wild.
I feel like this is going to be this is going to be made into a movie one day, but we'll have to wait and see.
It has to be.
All right. So Ronald Richards, and again, this came from Bravo Snarkside, not myself, but he said, breaking: Girardi's trustee Run asked the court to extend the time for Girardi to file his schedules until March 1st, 2021. After the meeting of creditors. This is a bizarre request, and the Tom Girardi will never appear at MOC due to his alleged incompetence. The motion.
So he's probably got the motion attached. The schedules are the schedules of assets, and he's asked for an extension in time to do that, probably because his bookkeeping, from all the other articles I've read, is such a mess. He doesn't even know where his assets are. But in bankruptcy, things do move quickly, and the bankruptcy court generally doesn't grant extensions of time. But he's asking for more time to say, this is everything that I own, that I have, where it is. So he's asking for more time to put that together. And that's where the brother coming in saying, I don't know, he's very secretive about finances, I don't even know where everything is, comes into play with this, that people might not be able to put together his schedules of assets.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If it doesn't, just ask me.
And when you say schedules of assets, do you just mean like a list of assets?
Everything. Yes. Every Cartier ring, every earring, every diamond, every car, every plane, cash in the bank, stocks in the bank, retirement funds, assets of the law firm, all of it, everything.
Okay. So that's why it would take a little bit more time, because they have a lot of assets.
They do. And it seems from the reporting with regard to the prior divorce and the way the bookkeeping was done at the office, it seems that these things maybe weren't kept track of well, and that it will be hard to truthfully put this together. Also, I wonder, again, lawyer speculation, I wonder if there are people working behind the scenes trying to figure out what they have to disclose that may be out of country or offshore. Speculation from me, but I wonder if that's also happening here, because it seems like a lot of money has gone missing very fast.
Can I just tell you something really quick?
All the things, tell me.
The only thing that I like more than you breaking down these legal terms that half of us don't understand is your speculation. So it's welcome here anytime.
I let people know when it's speculation because, again, when I talk about the law stuff, it's like, this is what it is, this is what it is. But when it comes to speculation, it's really my pondering from being in this career going, I wonder if this is happening or if this is happening, because I can see circumstances where that happens. But I don't want anyone to ever be like, well, Emily said they've got money offshore. No, that's not what I said. I wonder if they're trying to figure out what to do with that. Again, it's a lot of money missing really fast.
I
love the pictures chosen on this, by the way. We're gonna try.
And I have another question about all of the money that disappeared really fast. But before I do, I have this screenshot and one more from Bravo Snark side.
Yeah, sure.
And it's Ronald Richards saying, shows that there is no counsel for Tom or Erika Jayne and that he hasn't made any effort to prepare schedules.
So the motion is showing that he individually doesn't have an attorney yet. She doesn't have an attorney in bankruptcy yet, and they're not working on their personal asset schedules.
Why wouldn't they have attorneys yet, especially when this is huge?
Well, again, speculation. Their assets are frozen, so they might be having difficulty finding an attorney willing to touch this. It could be a money issue. It could be tactical with, hey, I'm incompetent. I can't interview attorneys. I can't help with my own case. So look, I'm going to show you that I'm not doing the things I would need to do to protect myself to prove the competency issue. So it could be both.
Okay. Yeah. And last, wow, until March. If they haven't done anything until now, why would they give them so much time? Like, why would they give them an extension? And then Ronald Richards said, pretty unlikely they will extend it, though, right? Especially 5 weeks. And when they have taken no action to get lawyers, and she's posting Instagram ads. Hope they throw the book at them. It's beyond sick at this point. Ronald Richards has opinions.
Ronald Richards has all the feelings, which I'm here for. I mean, he's a lawyer commenting on the case. He's totally allowed to have all of the opinions. He does not love what she's been doing in this, and I can understand it. I think the court is unlikely to grant an extension, especially because when the brother, Tom Girardi's brother, came in and said, hey, we need this to be done, the court was like, the deadline was yesterday, so you can fuck off. We're in bankruptcy now. Sorry to curse up on your channel. I should have.
No, I like this. Yeah, I mean, I feel like
far enough in that we're not going to get demonetized for a few F-bombs. I promise.
No, you're fine. No, I honestly, wow. This, especially you just said Ronald Richards has the feelings, I think that a lot of us, whether it's a lawyer who knows exactly how to break this case down, or even some of us as Bravo super fans who, like you said, we're watching, some of us, one of our favorite housewives on TV go through this, hoping that she really had no true involvement. And we would hope that she wasn't aware of what was going on. But you did also point out the fact that there was a lot of money that went missing extremely fast. I think that they said that he went from, please correct me if I'm wrong, like $80 to $85 million to absolutely zilch nothing, saying that there's no money and I don't know where it went.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
How?
I don't know, because I want to know where it started. Because again, this looks like a Ponzi scheme in that, and let me just explain briefly, because people are like, Emily, the words have meanings. What's a Ponzi scheme? And that is essentially your typical kind of Bernie Madoff scheme where you take money from the newer people to pay back the people that are getting mad because they didn't get their money. So at some point, money was short and this started. And then it starts falling like dominoes with them always running to keep up with the next settlement, the next settlement. And when you're behind like that as an attorney, you can see a scenario where he might then start settling cases without the best interest of the client at heart to pay back the debts that he's in. This is why this shit should never happen, because each case should go into its own client trust account. The expenses for that case are paid, the fees for that case are paid, and then the clients are paid, and each one, it should be in its own little bubble. What it looks like happened is that all the money just got mixed together, which should never happen, and that the person from case A got paid from case B because settlement A went somewhere. And then that happened case after case after case and just kept getting worse and worse and worse. But also, if his company's loaning $20 million out to Erika's company for her, music career and whatever else that was spent for, and that company didn't have it, then that's coming out of funds that should have been paying off clients too. So it's just all of a hot mess. I understand, and I don't know Ronald Richards, but a lot of lawyers that aren't friendly with Tom Girardi are outraged that an attorney would do this, because it's such a violation of ethics and what those of us in the profession who believe that our profession has integrity and has to have integrity, it's disgusting. And every law organization there was lauded him as like the grand master of all of the things law. He won for the downtrodden, people who were burned and killed and poisoned and died in plane crashes. And they've all stripped him off the website now. So the Hall of Fames, the awards, it's all just being stripped back. And I hope that it's a reckoning for the legal profession to look at who they protect. Just like the Me Too movement was a reckoning in Hollywood, I hope there's a reckoning in law to stop protecting people just because of their reputation.
Okay.
I just went off. I'm sorry. I have feelings.
I love listening to you.
I try to look at this case from both sides, but I'm also so I'm so angry at what this will do to the profession, because breaching client trust is it's deplorable. There's no other word for it. People hire you to make it right for them.
Well, I also have another question, because, reading through all of the different cases where there was, misappropriating $22 million of a $100 million settlement over here. But then there was one that stood out to me the most, and I have it right here in front of me. It said, Tom faced a lawsuit from residents of Carson, California, who alleged that they never paid him, or he never paid them, their $120 million settlement after their Carousel housing tract was found to have been built upon a toxic waste dump. So if he never paid them their $120 million settlement, does that mean that essentially what they're trying to say is that he would have pocketed $120 million?
They're saying that the money went somewhere, and that money could have gone to pay other people who weren't paid. So the money from Carousel could have gone to pay other settlements that were going to court, ones that weren't time barred, where people were like, I'm going to sue you. And it's not time barred. So he's like, oh, no, I've got the money. Take the money from Carousel and give it to the people who are now threatening to sue, knowing that if the people in Carousel take too long to sue, it will be time barred and they will not be able to bring it to court.
Okay. Well,
so the money went somewhere, but because there's no accountings yet, nobody knows where it went. It didn't go to them, which it should have.
We're going to have to wait and see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
there's a few more that are active now. Carousel's one of them. There's a couple other client cases that are still active and not settled. The Rui Gomez case is settled, but there's a boating accident from, I believe it's Lake Havasu, that is still in court now. After all this came out, that family chose to sue. And we've got to remember, there are still clients of Girardi Keese that have no idea what's happening and are seeing this going on in the media, not sure if they can find other attorneys, because now one of the attorneys helping a former client's being sued in bankruptcy. So now we've got all these other clients who are in the middle of settling cases or getting ready to go to court, whose law firm has completely fallen out from under them, and they have nowhere to turn right now, especially if the bankruptcy court is like, no, those clients can't be taken away from Girardi Keese because those settlements need to go into the bankruptcy court. It's the ripple effects of this are substantial.
Okay. So, okay. I know I'm trying to be conscious of time here for you too. I think we have about 10 minutes left.
I love that you're like, I'm trying to be conscious of time. Emily speaks for 17 minutes straight.
No, not that. No, I do.
I appreciate you.
Someone messaged me on Instagram and they asked me, because there was a scene on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills where Erika was walking through her house and she was giving a tour to one of the other housewives, and she pointed out this beautiful piece of art, and she said, Tom doesn't gift me with jewelry or anything like that. He gifts me with art. And then the woman messaged me and she's like, do you think that would fall under alleged, right, money laundering? Is it easier to launder money through buying expensive art pieces, or is that just complete speculation?
Well, Yes, speculation, but so lawyer Emily, money laundering for me has different connotations, though it might be a way to embezzle from his own firm and hide assets because he's not trying to take the money and put it somewhere else and kind of clean it from his firm unless that's proven down the road. It looks like he was actually just living this lifestyle and spending the money because the art is still in the house, and that can now be taken and sold in the bankruptcy court if it's still there, which is why I think we're going to see Bravo needing to turn over all footage of the Girardis' homes, cars, and all that stuff, because the bankruptcy court is going to want to go through all that footage and be like, where did that go? Where is that? Why isn't that here? And start tracking down those assets, things like art. So do I think he was laundering money through art? I really think that he thought that he would never get caught, truthfully.
Which is, I mean, it just kind of goes to show you that nobody is untouchable.
I think he always, once you get behind this boulder, I've explained it as like out of Indiana Jones, which now I'm realizing that not all of my younger audience has seen Indiana Jones because I'm old, but it's like the Indy running away from the boulder. And it feels to me like each new settlement for Girardi, it was like, oh, the Lion's Air settlement is going to be hundreds of millions of dollars. So once we get that one, it'll be fine. Like once we get this one, it'll be fine. I really think he kept chasing me. Once we get this next big settlement, we'll sort it out. We'll sort it out. We'll sort it out.
And then it's like he got way too deep.
He got too deep. And then we also have to remember COVID slowed down all the courts. Settlements aren't happening. Trials aren't happening. So now we've had the courts slowing down. And I think all of that happening at once kind of created the perfect storm for Girardi Keese for it to implode. And Edelman PC's not messing around. They're like, why aren't these clients paid? And that is the question they should be asking.
Well, now, since you said that, this is kind of almost like a ripple effect and they have a lot of these clients who haven't settled, does that mean, what if they end up liquidating all of Girardi's assets and it's not enough to pay all of
them? Then everyone won't get paid.
That's just it?
That's just it. They
just don't get paid.
Somebody doesn't get paid. The bankruptcy trustee will put all the debtors in order. So everybody, it's like pull a number. Everybody's going to get put in order, legal order of which debts get paid first. And then they will go down the line and pay them. I hope that the bankruptcy court will try to settle with the businesses for less than entirely what they're owed, saying you have business insurance, you were a lender, this and that. I hope that the clients who have outstanding judgments will take priority, but the bankruptcy court will put all the debtors in order, pay what they can, and then everyone else will get discharged in bankruptcy. Discharged meaning there's no money left and this is done. But there could still be settlements coming in from those clients, which is why the bankruptcy court's trying to make sure that the current clients of Girardi Keese don't disappear to other attorneys, because then once their settlements, the fees get paid back into the bankruptcy court and those clients would get paid and then the money would go to bankruptcy. So the bankruptcy court has a very dynamic situation that's unusual because it's still an active, well, it's a closed firm now, but there's still all these clients that have outstanding potential judgments and settlements to bring money back into bankruptcy, which is why this is going to take years.
Now, if they prove that, this blows my mind. So if they prove that Erika had any sort of involvement, if she was aware, and she, Bravo does continue to give her a platform, letting her be a housewife, would they just continue to liquidate for seasons to come until, like, if say they run out of money and they can't keep paying off these millions of dollars, but she continues to work the next 5-10 years on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, will they keep just taking from her whatever she makes as long as she's making money?
It's a fantastic question. I hate this answer, but it really depends. So if there is that $20 million loan to EJ Creative, because I'm assuming she gets paid from Bravo to her company, and then she runs her company like a hire out company. So her company has a business structure. They hire her out as talent. Very common in Hollywood, very common with talent. And then her business will pay the glam squad. Her business will pay her cars. So if her company was getting money from Tom's company, then the bankruptcy court will probably sue her company for all that money, and then she will have to keep paying back that judgment. So it could happen that way. But also, everything purchased during the marriage could be seen as marital assets, meaning this is money that you guys both had and you bought, Gucci, the Jaguar ring, the cars. The bankruptcy court can take all of that and sell it. So there's kind of two ways that she will have to pay. And what her company owes down the road could be you have to continue to pay this, and you have to continue to pay off this $20 million judgment if that's what it ends up being. And then that money would come from Bravo if they're still paying her, if they choose to. I don't know if Bravo's going to drop it like it's hot or not. We'll see what Bravo chooses to do.
Well, now, another question for you. If they do prove that Erika had no knowledge and that she had no involvement, is there any chance out there that she could get a divorce and keep any of the assets that she might have made during their marriage, like as far as like her music career, being a part of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? If they prove that she had no knowledge of any of this, will they just sue him, his company, and then divide the assets, give half of the assets to him and liquidate that half and then let her keep anything? Or no, because you're married, so guess what?
I think what the bankruptcy court will do is divide the marital assets first, because now the divorce is going to get stalled until the marital assets are done in the divorce or in the bankruptcy. So I think the bankruptcy is going to liquidate everything first. And then the bankruptcy trustee will set a budget, if you will, for a reasonable living expense. They might let her keep a wedding ring if it's deemed to be within the kind of bounds of reasonableness. But they could make her sell her car and get a Ford Explorer. They can do things like that, especially with these outstanding client funds. So it just depends on what the bankruptcy court decides, but the bankruptcy liquidation is going to happen before this divorce. So what she gets in the divorce is going to be based on what's left over, if anything, and then what she's allowed to keep through her company. Because I imagine if you looked at the Bravo contract, that it's EJ Creative that Bravo's contracted with, not her. So that company puts her assets separate a little bit. So if her company didn't have loans from Girardi Keese, her company can keep going, and new money wouldn't necessarily go to pay the bankruptcy. So it just depends on how much money Tom's business or they personally put into her company. So if they did loan a bunch of money into EJ Creative, then that's going to all have to get paid back. So even if she didn't know, the marital assets are going to get sold. But if she didn't know, it saves her from criminal prosecution, which for Tom Girardi might not be as big of a deal based on his age, but for her could greatly impact her ability to work in the future, though it hasn't impacted Teresa Giudice's ability to work with Bravo and her book deals and stuff like that. So
she's back on top.
Yep. So who knows?
Well, last question, I guess, before I let you go, because again, I want to respect that time slot. Dana Wilkie came on, and you remember her $25,000 sunglasses, right? From Beverly Hills. So Dana Wilkie came on and was talking about the fact that she was listed, Erika, as a secretary of one of her businesses. And that means that title comes with knowing or having knowledge of what's going on with the finances that has to do with that company. So if she was listed as a secretary but still didn't know anything, she would still, like Teresa Giudice, be criminally charged because her name is listed, right?
It's going to go to what. So I was a prosecutor for 10 years. So the criminal stuff to me becomes like the whole, like, what is it? Because people are losing liberty. Teresa Giudice signed the fraudulent documents, which is different than being listed on a corporation. Members of a corporation are presumed to have knowledge of what's going on with that corporation. That presumption might not carry in a criminal law sense. Like a jury might say, yeah, you were listed, but you were never there. You were never told. So you don't have actual knowledge, which is different than presumed or assumed knowledge based on the corporation. So it depends. I don't think it's fair to say if she is listed on this company alone, that's enough to prove she knew for the purposes of criminal intent or criminal knowledge. But it is fair to say that's where the investigation starts, and they are going to be interviewing who knew, what employees knew, what bookkeepers knew, what the accountants knew. And we'll see what she would have been told or would have known. They're going to look through emails and conversations and all of it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is the beginning of a whole ass mess.
Listen, I've enjoyed having you on. I think that this is amazing the way that you break all of this down. As this plays out, we would love to steal you back maybe in a few weeks when more comes back out, because we can't even fit this into 45 minutes. There's so much.
No, people are like, Emily, your streams are so long. And I'm like, legal's a conversation, and I will easily talk for 2+ hours about this stuff, because it takes time to kind of go through it. And then you get to this layers and it's like, well, if this, then what about this? And what about this? So yes, I'm happy to come back and chat.
I could listen to you forever, but I think
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Lives today. And I appreciate you taking the time so much. This has been an absolute honor to have you on, and just an amazing conversation. I feel like I've learned so much, and I know more about what I'm reporting on, because I didn't necessarily understand all of the legalities of everything. But with that being said, I wanted to thank you. And can you tell us, for anybody who might be in this chat who's living under a rock, where we can find you?
I am at the Emily D. Baker everywhere on social. So Instagram, the Twitters, the YouTubes, at the Emily D. Baker. I am everyone's favorite legal commentator. So I'm here to help break shit down. I'm live on YouTube Tuesdays and Fridays, and then whenever stuff pops off. So you can find me there, and that has all of my links and all of the stuff.
All right. And I'm also attaching Emily's link to her YouTube channel right here in the description of this video. So guys, make sure you go check her out, show her some love, go like her videos, and make sure you check out the lives. They're not only entertaining, but I feel like we learn a lot. So with that,
and if you come from Up and Adam, put it in the comments so that I can see you and give you some love for coming on over, please.
Hey, thanks. I'll keep you around.
Yeah.
All right, Emily. Well, I hope you have a great day, and thank you again so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time. All right, guys, that was Emily D. Baker. What an absolute honor to have her on with us. I feel like we learned so much. We've been covering this, and obviously we know she's a busy woman. I don't even know what we did to deserve any of her time today, but I'm just so thankful that she took the time to join us. I think that this was absolutely probably one of my favorite lives that I've ever done. And I never say that. You guys know I don't say that. So with that, I guess go ahead, hit that like button, go show Emily some love, and hopefully we can steal her back one day. We'll see you guys next time. Oh, and I'm going back. I'm going on live in about 30-45 minutes with Pops. We're going to do Pops Off on Pop Culture, where we give 100% of the ad revenue back to our vets. It's going to be amazing. We get to give back. Pops gets to pop off. And yeah, we'll see you then. See you next time. Bye, guys.